According to the International Center for Not-for-Profit Law, 17 states, including Texas, have passed legislation creating new or stiffer criminal penalties for protesting near oil and gas facilities. According to the Indigenous Environmental Network and Oil Change International, Indigenous resistance has stopped or delayed greenhouse gas pollution equivalent to at least 1/4 of annual U.S. and Canadian emissions.
530 years ago, they took all the gold, all the silver they could, and now they're still taking resources.
It's very hard to find an Indigenous people anywhere in the context of the U.S. that has not had to reckon with the fossil fuel sector.
As long as there's been a fossil fuel industry, there has been Indigenous resistance to it.
Indigenous people in the context of the United States never asked for the fossil fuel industry, and we certainly never asked to have to absorb the most harmful aspects of these industries.
Those harmful aspects, according to demonstrators, include environmental and health impacts, damage to sacred sites, lack of tribal consent, and sexual harassment and violence stemming from temporary labor camps. One Indigenous resistance effort is the Bridge to the Ancestors. It's a week-long, youth-led run and walk across Texas, from the Permian Basin to the Rio Grande Valley. The goal is to bring attention to the adverse impacts of extractive industries in the region, visiting sacred sites and engaging with local communities along the way.
Our ancestors are right here, bro. Right there, that's our ancestors.
Juan Mencius is the tribal chairman for Esto'k Gna, or the Carrizo Comecrudo Tribe, the indigenous community leading the Bridge to the Ancestors.
They've always attacked those traditions, those life ways of who we are. And that's why this walk is important. That's the bridge that we're trying to create, not just as elders, but also as connecting to our ancestors, because our ancestors need that connection and our young people need that connection.
I just wanted to say a few words before we get started today. No matter if we just met each other today or if we know each other our whole lives, we're going to stand together and we're going to be there for each other, watch out for each other.
I'm from Cheyenne River. I'm from Eagle Butte, South Dakota. This is like my first time in Texas, and you see just like oil wells and oil drums and like constant fracking, constant pipelines being built.
If you feel woozy or if it makes you feel sick, take breaks. This is very toxic air that we're going through, but this is air that our relatives breathe in every day.
Just you can feel it in your lungs, like the difference of running from where I come from and running from here, like how hard it is to breathe. And like it's kind of like a reminder of what you're running for. Like if like this hurts a lot because I'm not used to it, but I want to keep running. You know, you think about the Trail of Tears and like how many footsteps Indigenous people have walked across this land, and we're just doing it again.
The United States is a country that has wielded extremely violent forms of colonialism against Indigenous people. And going back to the 19th and 18th century, the United States has dispossessed Indigenous people of their land and territories. They have sought to forcibly assimilate Native people out of their own cultures. They've broken up Indigenous people's families, engaged in gender-based violence against Indigenous women and two-spirit persons and gender-diverse persons. Much of these efforts were in order to make way for the fossil fuel sector, and you cannot detach the history of the growth of the fossil fuel sector in the United States from the rapid dispossession of land and violence against Indigenous people. Going back well into the 19th century and the early 20th century, Indigenous people fought hard against the fossil fuel sector, and they did so by demonstrating the importance of their traditional values, the values of a communal society, a society based on reciprocity and responsibility. And today, it's extremely important for Native people to really set that example for the future and showing that our values are at odds with the fossil fuel sector.
There are multiple fronts in the resistance to fossil fuel infrastructure. According to the Indigenous Environmental Network and Oil Change International, there have been more than 20 Indigenous frontline struggles against a variety of North American fossil fuel projects over the past 10 years.
I'm from the Criminalizing tribe, but I live on the Cheyenne River Reservation.
Danny Grassrope is participating in the Bridge to the Ancestors run in solidarity with the Carrizo Comecrudo tribe. He's done several such runs before.
Back in 2016, it really hit big for us when Standing Rock happened. And we just wanted to help support. We knew a lot of people came to Standing Rock and helped support us with our fight against the oil pipeline there. Indigenous folks were always in the same fight. First contact, our people were just slaughtered and just murdered. From what I know, the history behind running, it's a really strong message, especially when it's a prayer run. I know some of these runs can be hard. When trauma happens, the destruction of our land, our water, our people, every individual and every tribe has a protocol to stand up against anything that destroys their way of life, anything that harms their way of life. So we're doing what anybody would do, stand up, stand up and fight back. We follow the natural laws of the land, not man-made laws.
For generations, actually, the United States has criminalized people that are simply trying to protect their land. They've created the image that they were people that were breaking the law, but whose law? People that were, committing acts of violence without discussing the overall violence that the fossil fuel sector and U.S. colonialism overall was committing.
According to the International Center for Not-for-Profit Law, 17 states, including Texas, have passed legislation creating new or stiffer criminal penalties for protesting near oil and gas facilities. Many of these laws define oil and gas pipelines as critical infrastructure, a designation that stems from post-9/11 national security legislation, but not everyone agrees with this classification.
The real critical infrastructure is the water, the air, and the land, and the human people, the humanity.
When people call us resistors, our activists, our environmentalists, it's not just about that, it's about who we are, it's about our way of life. So when these fossil fuels industries come, those are modern day warfare tactics against us Indigenous people. The genocide is still on our people.
Everyone, go ahead and give a hand for Crystal Mancias.
I thank you all for coming out today. Well, the whole week has been an emotional ride for all of us. The Bridge to the Ancestors run from the Permian Basin all the way down to the Gulf.
Having this trip throughout, from Monahans all the way to here, is been surreal because we've been, crossing and visiting so many sacred sites. No matter what front line it is, whether it be here, at the Rio Grande, at this pipeline crossing, or whether it be in North Dappel, in Standing Rock in North Dakota, no matter what front lines we're standing on, we're all standing together.
These frontline efforts are getting results. According to the Indigenous Environmental Network and Oil Change International, Indigenous resistance has stopped or delayed greenhouse gas pollution equivalent to at least 1/4 of annual U.S. and Canadian emissions.
I think the future of resistance to fossil fuels really involves Indigenous people really demonstrating and showing that we do have a different pathway forward.